I have a gripe with Godox and all the counterfeit culture that continues to undercut the market without moving the needle forward. Brands like Godox may be driving the downfall of the lighting equipment industry unless we do something about it. And it starts by understanding what the problem even is. R&D is the fuel for any industry. It drives progress, technological advancement, and improves products and services for every consumer. The major brands we know and love, and mostly love to hate, all invest a vast majority of resources into research and development to create cutting-edge technologies and maintain a competitive edge against their competitors. However, when Godox comes capitalizing on the R&D efforts of RE and Profoto to produce cheaper alternatives without actually adding value to their tech, it starts to become worth looking into. At first, giving the consumer all the promises that the name brands claim and at a fraction of the cost, what's not to love? But it can have far-reaching negative consequences for the industry as a whole. My gripe with Godox is multifaceted. Obviously, I use their equipment and those suckers are still kicking to this day. But I want to examine how the prevalence of undercutting name brands might undermine the progress of R&D and innovation across the entire industry. I want to propose a sustainable future for photographers and filmmakers, either venturing into their first lighting kits or thinking of upgrading and adding to their existing kits. And I added some chapters down in the description of this video if you want to go ahead and skip around. But first, let's get into the goods of Godox. The rise of third-party manufacturers is often fueled by consumer demand for affordable alternatives to high-priced products offered by the big brands. They wouldn't be thriving if the demand wasn't there. Brands like Godox copy the design, features, and tech of established brands and can enter the market like a wolf in sheep's clothing. It doesn't take much deductive reasoning to see that their C10R bulbs are aperture accents or that the MG1200 is a direct poach of the 1200D. Godox really only benefits consumers in the short term. But this lower barrier of entry, say with these speed lights that got me really into flash photography, for example, they provide access to beginners that were once reserved for those who could only afford premium products. This increased accessibility enables more photographers like you and me to experiment with high-quality lighting equipment. It's not all bad. There is more creativity in the world today because of Godox products. But as for when I was starting out, I didn't have the option to buy a whole Profoto setup. But it took years for me to finally understand what I should have done all those years ago. But first, the immediate allure of cheaper alternatives can't be underestimated. I'm not the only one of us who's cheap. We're drawn to more affordable options, especially if they provide similar functionality and features to their premium counterparts. This shift in consumer behavior can have severe implications for big brands like Broncolor and Westcott and even Ari. As the market tilts towards cheaper alternatives, big brands face a decline in sales and revenue and market share, which could ultimately lead to their downfall. While the entry of third-party manufacturer may drive big brands and reassess their pricing and business strategies, a benefit for us in the short term, I mean, hey, competition is always a good thing for the consumer, but it can also lead to significant financial losses. As consumers flock more to affordable options, big brands can experience declining sales and affect their ability to invest in R&D. I repeat, not a decline in their profits. They'll continue paying themselves, and because the industry is growing, the market share might still continue to grow. But the rate at which it will is significantly hindered by consumers choosing to spend their money on cheaper alternatives like Godox, reducing Profoto's capacity to innovate and potentially leading to a decline in product quality and advancements in the not-so-distant future. A threat to innovation is a threat to the cornerstone of progress in any industry. Profoto spends 10% of their net sales on R&D, according to their own website, to invest in staying ahead of the competition and meet our never-ending lust as consumers for, shorter flash durations or faster recharge times or more power, always more power. Godox stealing attention from Profoto can directly limit their capacity to innovate, and if you're cheating on the smart kid in class, you don't really want them to start slacking. Without enough funding for R&D, big brands might be unable to explore new tech, refine existing products, or develop revolutionary concepts. The industry as a whole can slow down, or worse, rely on older technologies while failing to address our demands as photographers. This could even have adverse effects on job security and economic growth. With big brands struggling to maintain their market share, they could be forced to downsize or even close down, which means job losses and slowed innovation. No idea what that noise was. I get asked a lot by my friends and family that what's the difference between my Italian-made espresso machine and some Breville from wherever. And the truth is very minimal because they both make coffee. But the main thing is that everyone who's had a hand in making my machine was paid a fair wage and got to go home to their families that night. I'm not saying that Profoto exemplify the epitome of ethics, but when a company is offering you discounts, corners tend to be cut along the way. The quality and safety of Godox products, from the longevity of their battery units to their shady soldering, might not always match those of big brands. The latter are much more invested in not getting sued than the undercutting company just trying to capitalize on a couple bucks. The name brands invest significant resources in testing and quality control to ensure that their products meet high standards, both for practicality and for safety. Godox and the industry might show short-term success, but their actions undermine the future of innovation in the industry. When consumers flock to cheaper alternatives, big brands go through reduced revenue streams, but it cripples their capacity to invest in R&D. And then the pace of innovation slows down, which stops the progress of industry growth. Thankfully, for a brand like Profoto or Ari, they tend to be the industry standard among rental houses. These brands have close partnerships with rental houses across the world, and for the sake of consistency and reliability, it's a win-win relationship for everyone involved. That's really why we don't see Godox lights on bigger productions, and why we don't see a shift from professionals using professional lighting equipment. Ease of use and ease of going from one set to the next, from one country to the next, is the main driving factor keeping pros on Profoto. For big brands like Profoto, investing in R&D is not only essential for maintaining a competitive edge, but also at revolutionizing the market and addressing consumer needs. R&D is expensive. Like, where are we blowing all this money expensive? But these investments have a long-term payoff when they lead to groundbreaking products that affect photographers' workflows, until Godox goes and knocks them off. With cheaper alternatives gaining prominence and big brands almost struggling to survive, like big asterisk there, they're not really struggling, just starting to share some of the market, third-party manufacturers taking advantage of stolen R&D might gradually dominate the market without much to show for it. A lack of competition leads to diminished product diversity, limited choice to consumers, and decreased motivation for research and improvement. At the end of the day, this power funneling into only a couple hands stifles the innovative spirit that fuels healthy competition and hampers the overall progress of the industry. Consumers who want cost-effective options should know what comes with supporting copycat alternatives. At the same time, big brands should explore ways to adapt to changing market dynamics, maybe offering a narrower range of products that cater to specific consumer demands, including budget-conscious ones. Think Apple. You don't need every niche product, but rather a variety of price points for entry into the ecosystem. So where do we go from here? Do we all go spend a bunch more money and buy only Profoto as to keep the industry alive? Not necessarily. But would I buy Godox again as a beginner, starting out knowing what I know now? Definitely not. I know with confidence that lights from 20 years ago are just as good at telling the stories that I want to tell as a commercial photographer that shoots still life advertising, since the technology hasn't changed. I don't need any of the new features, it's literally just marketing. Of course, that's my experience for my specific use case, and this is just my opinion. I'd love to hear yours. Are you a Godox user? Do you hate the rise of these Godox lights? Shout it out for me, let's chat about it. I'll do my best to answer every single one of you, and I'll see you guys next week. Peace. This reduces Profoto's capacity to innovate and potentially